Fake HOA demanded my keys, then towed the wrong car and faced instant karma. Have you ever had someone demand control over your life, only to watch their plans spectacularly implode? In the quiet cul-de-sac of Willow Creek, where tidy lawns and picket fences painted a picture of suburban peace, a storm was brewing. Karen Mitchell, self-appointed queen of the Fake Homeowners Association, strutted down the street like she owned every blade of grass. Her latest target? My car-modest silver Honda parked neatly in my own driveway. With a clipboard in hand and a sneer on her lips, she banged on my door at 7 a.m., demanding my keys to relocate my car for violating her made-up rules. Little did she know, her power trip was about to crash and burn in the most glorious way. The morning started innocently enough. I was sipping coffee, scrolling through emails, when Karen's fist rattled my front door. "Open up, Jake. Your car's an eyesore, and it's blocking the aesthetic of the neighborhood," she bellowed. I cracked the door open, bleary-eyed, to see her in a neon green visor and a self-printed badge that screamed HOA President. I'd moved to Willow Creek 6 months ago, and I'd heard whispers about Karen's reign of terror, how she'd fine people for untrimmed hedges or unauthorized mailbox colors. But this was my first run-in. "Karen, there's no HOA here," I said, trying to keep my cool. "And my car's in my driveway." Her eyes narrowed. "You don't get to decide that. Hand over your keys, or I'll have it towed by noon." I laughed, thinking she was bluffing, and shut the door. Big mistake. By 10 a.m., the truth of Karen's audacity came into focus. I glanced out my window to see a tow truck rumbling down the street, its driver a burly guy named Tony conferring with Karen. She pointed at my Honda, her voice carrying like a megaphone. "That's the one. Get out of here." My stomach dropped. I grabbed my phone to record, sensing this was about to escalate. But here's where things got weird. As Tony hooked up the tow truck, I noticed a sleek silver BMW parked across the street, identical in color to my Honda. It belonged to Mr. Dawson, the quiet widower who kept to himself. Before I could shout a warning, the tow truck's chains clanked around the BMW's bumper instead of my car's. Karen, too busy lecturing Tony about neighborhood standards, didn't notice the mix-up. I froze, torn between stopping them and letting this play out. Enter the twist. Mrs. Lopez, the neighborhood's unofficial historian, appeared on her porch, her gray curls bouncing as she waved a manila folder. "Karen Mitchell, you fraud," she shouted, hobbling toward the scene. Mrs. Lopez, it turned out, had been digging into Karen's so-called HOA for months. She'd uncovered emails proving Karen had forged documents to create the fake association, scamming neighbors into paying fines for her personal gain. The crowd that had gathered dog walkers, kids on bikes. Even the mail carrier gasped as Mrs. Lopez waved the evidence. "She's no president. She's a con artist." Karen's face turned beet red, but she doubled down, screaming, "This is my street, and I make the rules." That's when the real chaos erupted. The confrontation hit its peak as Tony, oblivious to the drama, revved the tow truck. The BMW lurched off the ground, its alarm blaring like a wounded animal. Mr. Dawson burst out of his house, his face a mix of shock and fury. "That's my car," he roared, sprinting toward the truck. Karen spun around, finally realizing her mistake, but it was too late. The tow truck's hook had already scraped the BMW's pristine bumper, leaving a gash that screamed dollar signs. The crowd surged forward, phones out, recording every second. Karen tried to deflect, yelling at Tony. "You idiot! I said the Honda." But Tony, fed up with her barking, snapped back. "Lady, you pointed at this one." Mr. Dawson, usually soft-spoken, unleashed a tirade. "You've been harassing us for months, Karen. You're done." The neighbors cheered, their pent-up frustration boiling over. Karen's empire crumbled in real time. Mrs. Lopez handed her folder to Mr. Dawson, who skimmed it and turned to the crowd. "She's been stealing from us," he declared, holding up a bank statement showing thousands of dollars funneled into Karen's account. The tow truck lowered the BMW, but the damage was done both to the car and Karen's reputation. She stammered, trying to spin a story about misunderstandings, but the crowd wasn't having it. Someone called the police, and within minutes, a cruiser rolled up, Karen's smug grin vanished as an officer questioned her, her clipboard now a useless prop. Tony, meanwhile, unhitched the BMW, muttering about never working with crazy Karens again. My Honda sat untouched in my driveway, a silent witness to her downfall. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Karen stood alone, her fake badge ripped off by a furious neighbor. The police didn't arrest Harriet, but they took Mrs. Lopez's evidence for investigation. Mr. Dawson, still fuming, vowed to sue for the damage to his car. The neighbors, once divided by Karen's petty rules, banded together, planning a real community meeting to ensure no one could pull a stunt like hers again. I watched from my porch, my coffee now cold, marveling at how one woman's obsession with control had united a fractured neighborhood. In the end, Karen's power trip cost her everything: her fake authority, her neighbors' trust, and soon, likely her bank account. Willow Creek felt lighter that evening, as if a weight had been lifted. We'd all been pushed around by someone like Karen at some point, but seeing her face the consequences was a reminder truth has a way of catching up. So, what do you think? Have you ever dealt with a Karen who got what they deserved? Share your thoughts. Sometimes the best justice is the kind that unfolds right in front of you.